I love you so much that it hurts my head. I thought that was a nice way to kick off this season premiere, perhaps series premiere, because we're revamped. We've signed a contract for another 100 episodes, and we are on the Travis Kelsey Podcast Network. What's that called?
Gym
The
Bros, Football Bros.
higher, yeah, that's the Swifties. This is weird. We're gonna try this again. How are you, Chris?
I am good. We were episode 91 and I feel fresh and fine. We're recording this on Tuesday, 2 weeks before everyone's favorite Tuesday of the year, election time. So if you thought you were going to listen to this podcast and escape politics, guess what? Women that want reproductive rights can't escape from this election either. So do your part. All right, let's go. Also,
Whoa, my God, we just lost 5 listeners.
No. We gain listeners because our podcast metrics have said our audience is primarily female. So that's very interesting. But this podcast is always brought to you by our friends and yours, Old Mother Brewing Company and Special Teas, which, by the way, I'm drinking the new Bull Run beer with a cool can, and it's got a bull on it. And Wes asked me what this was, and I told him Big Cow, and he thought that was funny.
Big, big cow. There are a lot of jokes to be made, but I will not make them because this is a family-friendly podcast. Um, we should set our intentions from the beginning here. So the problem has been on on a lot of levels. The technical stuff, the last season that we did was very bad, technically speaking. It didn't sound good. So if you started to try to listen and you tuned out, hopefully you're back. But if you're back, hopefully the problem's fixed. The only thing we don't know is if it's actually fixed. So we can commit doing some episodes at some points throughout the next some time. And we can also commit that it will sound better, even if this doesn't right now. It will eventually because we'll figure it out. But I have no idea the frequency of this. I also don't know how many we're going to do. Chris, do you have any idea?
No idea. And again, the joke about Travis and Jason, making sure they sign off on things like that's fine, but we all know people from Philly are just disgusting. So who knows what's actually
Oh,
just just kidding. Abbott
the bits
Elementary is the
never end.
listen, Abbott Elementary is just one of the greatest TV shows of ever. Anyway, that yeah, I don't know. Like I think that the fun thing, and we'll kind of get into some of this because some people care and ask questions, which always surprises me about the frequency of this show, if we're still doing it, stoked that we're doing it, wondering where there's new episodes, and then is Colin dead? And so it's like we kind of just like wanted to answer a lot of those today. But I mean, the my favorite thing is that the reason why we've kind of had a little bit of we always take the summers off because we're teachers, obviously, we're educating the community here with nothing, but um you are a super dad now and have and work a ridiculous work schedule up until recently. So there's a lot of like
Oh
really cool
no.
things that are changing for you. And so I'm excited that we're now back and maybe we'll do a little bit more of these than we've done recently. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean we'll do pop-up ones and then we'll also do I don't know 52 shows at Old Mother Brewing next year. Oh, maybe not.
Maybe
We'll
not.
we'll get we'll get to that. But
Yeah.
but yeah, hopefully that you've gone through some changes too. I saw your son and what is he in 8th grade now? And
Yeah, he's tying his shoes and learning how to drive. It's crazy.
that's at the same time. I oddly enough I learned how to tie my shoes the same year I learned how to drive. So, and that was when I was 24. So he's already beyond me, but he's very grown up. What does it feel
Yeah,
like to have an actual person in your house?
it's well, I have two people that live in my house, but
Oh, that's fair.
this little or person is um it's crazy. He tells me now when he doesn't want to do something that not now, Dad, later. And I'm like, "Whoa, that's pretty cool." So I don't really know how to take that. He's throwing stuff now like and he can actually like hit you with it, which is kind of fun. So it's like,
Oh, that's fun.
throwing sports balls, that's fun, but then also like stuffed animals in the middle of the night. You're like, hey buddy, where's baby fox? And he just like takes it and then smacks you in the face with it. So it's always a surprise, and everything's a battle of the wits and the challenge of endurance. So I guess also the story of my sex tape, but like it's just that is just kind of
Oh,
like what has been uh constantly going on. But it's really really great. I think there's like those extreme ebbs and flows of I'm super tired, but then you kind of get like either like a really sweet moment and just kind of makes it all worth it. So joys of parenting. But yeah, it's I mean you kind of alluded to it earlier, but like there's parenting stuff. We're in the final stretch of our shows at Old Mother Brewing Company. It's kind of been a lukewarm um feeling. It feels good that we're wrapping up, and the shows have been really good. We just had emo night last week and it was a lot of fun. We had Timberwolves on Friday night and that was a ton of fun. And so it's like it's really cool to be ending kind of on a high note, but then as we kind of look around in Frederick, there's a lot of things that are dying, and so it's been kind of this weird, interesting um, time period. So I'm excited to kind of see what's next, what Old Mother wants to do and continues to do with their sweet space. And so we're just kind of hanging.
let's set the table for what any of this means, because you have said that a lot of people have asked questions over the weeks. It's been a while now since you posted something online, from what I'm told, that Could Be Better will not be doing shows at Old Mother. Um, uh, I don't know how much you want to say. I don't know what you want to say, but are there things you want to clarify?
Oh yeah, this is we so the post which is on our Instagram, I think it's pinned, it's on the Facebook, all the things, whatever you use to check us out and find your could be better stuff. It's there. But essentially uh it is there's a handful of different things to it. There's the one side of Colin and I used to live in the same town and we would see each other kind of somewhat regularly. And now Colin has relocated into um, the wonderful swing state of Pennsylvania. And that is
Swingers.
so, and that is made it so we don't see each other as often, but then also puts a lot of pressure on me to be the sole point guy for point of contact stuff for Old Mother. And so me kind of being a single point of failure, there's a handful of other volunteers that we have that can do sound and stuff. It just doesn't start to feel great. There's also the side of it where a couple I think it was about a month before we made the announcement officially. My wife and I found out we were pregnant with our second kid, and we were super excited about it. And we got to a certain point in the pregnancy, and uh, we had a miscarriage. And so that's a normal thing that happens for a lot of people. And so one of the reasons why making that decision of stopping doing shows going into the new year was that we were it would be really hard for Laura to do a lot of new parenting with a hyperactive toddler along with a newborn, all as one person if I'm out kind of doing a bunch of things. So I've been actively taking a lot off my plate over the last several months. And so even though the outcome for this pregnancy wasn't what we were expecting or hoping for, the writing on the wall and being able to talk with Keith and Kristen at Old Mother just kind of felt like this was still just the right timing of things. And based on like they have more events now more than ever at their brewery that are awesome and tons of fun. They're doing lots of pop-up markets, lots of cool concerts, lots of cool paint and sip things. So it became kind of looking forward in 2024. There's actually not as much room for what we would probably try to do. So it just kind of worked out that there was a pretty just good time to split into that. And so those I think were kind of like the two, 3.5 big things of why that decision was kind of there. And so for folks that listen to the podcast, talking about miscarriages and stuff, we've done it before with other guests and things, and it feels like a safe medium to talk to folks about, and maybe not something to kind of just put on a uh Instagram post that just gets liked and people um ignore it afterwards. So as much of a personal medium this is, I kind of feel like maybe that's something to do. And there's just a lot. Cancer is also the worst, and I think we've talked about that before too on the podcast too. So there's just a lot kind of hitting my life all at once, and so taking a break from something that's been really fun to build and to grow and to see be something I don't think I ever expected it to be has been a blast. But I think sometimes things come to an end, and this is just one of those things for now.
Are you are you worried about missing it?
Oh, I'm like I think there's the idea of there's things about booking shows and the hustle and all of it that like there's aspects of it that I will miss. Um, there's a lot I won't. It's like uh hey, either Wes wants to hang out with me before I leave for a show and I gotta tell him I gotta go and he just wants to hang. Like I'm not gonna miss leaving. Um but it is kind of fun getting an email from a random band that's on tour and they're really good, pairing them together with some cool Frederick bands or folks that will kind of help draw and help give them a good show, and seeing that kind of friendship blossom. And so I'm thankful for places like Cafe Nola and Aaron and James over there that are still kind of doing the Lord's work with putting on shows. So I'm excited to still try to maybe foster some romantic band relationships there for bands that might try to come through and still reach out and ask for help. So I kind of miss some of that, but I mean, it'll be nice to go to sleep at a regular time and not have people yell at me for sound issues or not read emails and then wonder why we don't have a drum set for a back line and um, why they want to run their stupid guitar amps direct into the PA when it it sounds like crap anyway. Like I'm excited to not do a lot of that stuff. So it'll be a little bit of a relief.
Hmm. I think you're gonna miss it. I do. I think
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, this is something that I don't think you get enough credit for, and we'll save the reasons. We can speculate on the reasons for episode two, but I think you're passionate about this stuff. I think it really you can put up with the bullshit and be okay with it. And not a lot of people can do that, and I'll be the first to raise my hand and say I can't. So I know what being in that position is like, and I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you've done it, and you can only do it if you truly, really like it. So I think you've really liked it, and I
Well,
think that there's going to be something, and
it
it's not the end forever, like it's
No,
up
no,
to you.
no, no, no. And like whatever it looks like, there's still going to be things that we'll do because, I love this music community and arts community here in Frederick. And so like, hey, like if there's ways that I can still be a part of it but not be the nexus of it, that sounds fun. And sounds interesting. Um, but
Listen
for
to
for
the
for
ego, not be the nexus of it. Whoo.
is that not it? That's just what it is. And I love it. And I'm not
It's amazing. We're
all
so back. We're so back.
so back. But it's just in the sense of like for Nexus of not necessarily Frederick music, but Nexus of just running something that's a part of the Frederick thing. It's nice not to be uh the guy for everything. And I'm happy to be a Secretary of State as opposed to maybe like the Prez or the Vice Prez. So, and in our case, the joint Prez. But for me, it's like there were a couple times where it's like I did snap at some people, and I remember texting you about it, and we talked, and I was like, dude, I hate who I am right now. Where it's like I got so much stress with like, um, uh, brain cancer on the brain, kid stuff on the brain, wanting to be a good husband on the brain, wanting to be a good friend on the brain, wanting to, um, learn a little bit more about maybe some of the stuff that I'm doing with work on the brain. And then like I go and do a show and then someone like doesn't show up on time and they're playing first and they don't do stuff and I'm just like short with them and it's like and they might not be somebody I know and like that just kind of sucks where it's like that's not the impression I want to give off and that's what I did and I feel crummy about it. But it's like, I running shows and doing stuff, it's a hospitable type of thing and I like kind of creating like a tight ship, but then also still a fun environment. And so it's like the band that came through from Ohio that played just last Friday, like this was the best show of tour. This was the most money they've gotten paid on tour. And they said all the bands were awesome and they had a really good time. And it's like they've been out for a week and they're from Ohio. And so like I'm super glad. Frederick got to be a part of that experience for them because now they're like, oh, we'd rather play here than Baltimore. And it's like, well, you just haven't had a good Baltimore show, but I'm glad you want to come back. Um, so I like being able to have those shared experiences. And then I take pride in doing something in my city that like people are excited about and and enjoy it and be and want to be a part of it and things like that. So, um, you know, uh, yeah, there was a comment that was going around over the summer as well saying, yeah, those could be better guys. They're gatekeeping old mother. And I'm like, well, like we are
You
that
never
is our
told me that.
yeah. So some band got upset because well not really. It's not well, I won't go into details because they don't need to get the airtime.
Oh,
But
sure they
they
do.
but they were just very much oh, it could be better gatekeeps with mother. I'm like, well, like, isn't that technically our job when someone says, hey, we're gonna give you the keys to the calendar. We want you to put on a couple shows a month that are of value to us in our arts community. I was like, yeah, yeah, sure. Gatekeepers, cool. I'm gonna add that into the list of things I never thought I would hear. But it's a sad thing because it's a loss of a thing or a change of a thing. And I um don't hate change, but as things for as Colin knows, I've been a part of a lot of things with him where they've changed and they've adapted or, I was the Eagles trustee for a bit and then I quit. And I was so glad to do that, but it's like we got to do um a little bit of really cool work for a little bit of time and then we move on to something else and move on to something else. And so I'm excited just to kind of get a little bit of a breather and see what this next phase in life is like. And hopefully I don't turn into Clint Eastwood from Gran Torino.
Well, you're a lot younger than I am, so you have a lot longer to go. Yeah. I mean, and I think that that kind of sums up at least this, the first episode for this season. It's good to get all this stuff out there. I have a lot of things I want to get into over several episodes in the coming weeks, um, which I think should be a lot of fun because I sort of have a list in my brain, but you don't do well with lists, so we will
I
adjust
love
accordingly.
I love lists. I live for lists.
But
Uh,
we at the very least, could we agree that we want to get to episode 100, which gives us nine more episodes?
yeah. Yeah, I think 100 if we can do so I mean if we're looking at 9 more for the end of the year and if we're looking at a calendar and we're trying to figure out when stuff is if we go through this and we let's see. So we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have to do an episode every week with only one, technically no off weeks. So that's going to be a tall tale for this calendar year. But I'm not opposed to continuing the podcast forever. I like the idea of being able to, I think, and I've said this to you a bunch, is I never want to be the loud person on the sidelines that's never been in the game. It's like I I don't want to comment on on my perspective of Frederick music without being a part of it. So it's going to be interesting to see maybe what we do with the podcast, how we continue to leverage this thing that we like to do because at the end of the day you and I get to talk to each other and that's my favorite part of this and sometimes we have good guests and that's awesome. So it's
Yeah,
a
and
lot of
And that's another thing about I think with this one, right? Like we don't there might be a week where we bring somebody in. There might be a week that we don't. We have no idea, which I think might be the best way to go about it.
Yeah. Why label it, man? Just like let it be what it's going to be.
Very polyamorous.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Speaking of
It's
polyamorous, Wayne Brady's a pansexual. I didn't know that. So I listened to the Pete Holmes episode, and he was talking about all sorts of things. It was very interesting.
oh man, he's been out there with that for a long time. And you
Yeah.
want to know because
Yeah.
I mean every time you talk to him, he's like, "Hey, let's make a deal."
That's that's
Come on, that
wow.
was
Oh my God.
we're so back. We're all the way back.
Oh, yeah, it was a great episode. The You Made It Weird podcast with Pete Holmes. They get into it, and it was really good. But
We're
yeah,
gonna
man, I
dedicate an entire episode to Smartless. I've already decided that. I just want to talk about Smartless because we are on, I think, complete opposite ends of the aisle on Smartless.
and it's crazy because they are now bigger than ever. They now have their serious
I know.
partnership, and they just are making way more money to where they have to do this every week, and it is quite insane. That they still, I mean, they're one of like the top three podcasts of all time. It's kind of crazy.
Well,
Three most
you said they have their
popular
serious
podcasts. Yeah, but yes,
of all time. It goes them, the Frederick Playlist podcast, the Could Be Better podcast.
followed closely by Serial.
That's still after all these years, still up there. All right, so let's wrap this up. We'll tell people we'll be back. If the production on this was bad, somebody let us know. We're gonna know though. We listen
Mhm.
back. We have such fragile and big male egos that we have to listen back to these things to make sure that there's some type of quality control. But um, hopefully, if all things go well, we'll be back next week, right, Chris?
Yeah, I think so. I think I have a quick rapid fire for you on the way out. Are
All
you
right,
prepared?
I'm prepared. I'm looking at the little timer, so
Yeah, it's okay. Uh, Cheez-Its in Crunch Wraps, yay or nay?
I go and I just get the cheese it.
That's I saw that was an option, and I'm like that's disgusting. Uh, Mets or Yankee, or
Of
sorry,
course,
sorry, not
I would
Mets or
do that.
Yankees. Yankees or Dodgers.
I'm going to go. I have a gut feeling Los Angeles is going to win because they have home field, and I think it's going to go seven. And I think Shohei Ohtani becomes a great baseball player. And Aaron Judge is not that good in the postseason.
No, I'm very excited for that. Um, uh,
Oh, but I don't think you saw this. Look at my back.
Mikey 40,
Well,
Mickey
and
40.
no, oh, it was fun. Yeah, this was a homemade T-shirt. My friend's
He's
40th birthday. Mikey,
oh
oh, you
from
know Mike.
Mike. Yeah, I know
You
Mike. I didn't know
from helping me
Mikey.
move.
He's
Yeah,
the best.
this is
Mike,
a
who got
picture of
just got
him and me.
recently married. Yeah.
No, did no. He didn't get married.
Hmm.
He says he's never going to get married. No,
Oh,
the two
that's
gay guys that helped me move.
yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. I love that Curb Your Enthusiasm episode. All right. Let's think. There's a three. Let me get one more. Um, oh, who's winning the election?
Oh, we have another week for that.
Oh, no, no, no. This is it. Put in your bets now.
That's true, and you can bet on it.
Thank you, Jamie Foxx, MGM Sports.
um, yeah, we should talk about this next week too. I don't know. I mean, I've said this for forever. I think Donald Trump's going to win, and it's going to send a lot of stuff into places people are not going to be happy with. But you know, I know some people who are very convinced that Harris is going to pull it out. So we'll see.
Very
How
good.
about you?
Very
Who do
good.
you think is going to win?
I would prefer Kamala to win. But
Here's
if
a theory.
yeah.
I'll give you my, well, I would prefer Kamala. It's like say, well, I would prefer to eat a filet mignon tonight instead. I've got a
I
$3 sirloin from Walmart.
yeah.
But I will say this. Here's a little napkin theory. And we can talk about this next week if you'd like. I have become convinced that the Republican Party wanted JD Vance to be on that ticket because they don't think Trump is going to make it through the presidency. And they wanted Vance from the beginning. There's no reason for Trump to pick Vance because Vance is not getting Trump more votes anywhere. And at this point, too, Vance is kind of almost faded into the back. So I think that this is sort of the Republican Party's chess move to like get back to the Republican Party, thinking that Trump is going to either die while in office, not assassinated, just die because he's old, or not make it because he still faces 1 million, criminal charges and lawsuits and all those things. So I think that there are bigger stakes at this for the future than just the right now.
Like Trump steaks big or like Omaha steaks big?
It's the chicken Big Mac big.
That sounds kind of disgusting, and also disgusting just the fact that people like JD Vance. I think it's kind of interesting. I didn't know there could be anybody more mayonnaise than Mike Pence, but I am quite shocked, but then also I should probably sit down as I say that, but I don't want to be near a couch. So anyway, that's
Okay.
allegedly. It's a joke. That's a joke. All right. Hey, we have less than a minute now on our free Zoom since we canceled our subscription. So tune in next week where we talk more about things. And we'll go from there. And again, if the audio is bad, sorry, we'll fix it. Maybe it should be better, not worse. And thanks for listening.
We
Talk
could
to you
always
later.
be better. The Could Be Better podcast is recorded somewhere with suspect Wi-Fi in the United States of America.
We've been without a studio for several decades, but have finally moved to the real estate where the talks tick and the West's yay.
What?
Actually, we're live now, but you're listening later. So please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and Blue Sky. And don't forget to check out our website for literally everything else at www.couldbebettermeh.com.
Also, pretty please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Overcast, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Or don't, and then let us continue believing what we're doing has purpose and meaning, and you like us. And
plus, don't forget to check out all of our other podcasts exclusively within the Could Be Better Podcast Network, which includes just us for right now, as the other pods be sleeping.
Hey, shout to Kiki, shout to Stitch, shout to my magnum opus ish. And hell, if all else fails, check out Smartless, because we were friends with Jason, Will, and Sean.
Wait, we know those guys?
Of course. Welcome to Arrested Development. I'm Colin McGuire.
And I'm Chris Perry. Thanks for listening, and don't forget, this always could be better.